Hi, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for your continued support as we head towards 7,000 subscribers. Also, lovers of classical music and classical recordings, please join us for our Everything Classical Music livestream, Wednesday 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Jump on, discuss everything classical, and show some records and CDs from your collection. Don't be shy. The panel and the peanut gallery are very friendly, I promise. Now to our subject. My top 10 picks for Deutsche Grammophon Tulip pressings. This is what a Tulip pressing label looks like. A Tulip pressing is a DG vinyl pressing from the late 50s to late 60s. I am really late to the DG Tulip party. I'm not sure whether it was DG prejudice. My DG purchasing began in the mid-70s when DG had already switched to solid-state mastering, and leading figures like Herbert von Karajan were favoring spotlight recording and, quote, fixing far too much in the mix, unquote. Oftentimes, it left the greatest artists with incredible performances awash in a sea of goo. I loved the playing, the repertoire, but even on my meager system, the records still sounded far inferior to my EMIs, Shaded Dogs, and Deckers. Stupidly, ignorantly, I assumed the same for all DG recordings. How wrong I was. Through my friend Ryan, I've seen or heard the Tulip light. Ryan jumps on our live stream most weeks from sunny Maui and contributes a lot to our show. He shows records from his amazing collection, and he's been very kind and sent me a lot of records. This last set of gems included several DG Tulip pressings which I've been devouring ravenously. Yes, on my present-day system, these 10 recordings I'm recommending today I consider audiophile. They sound great with the additional benefit of star performance, and according to Discogs in the here and now, are reasonably priced. In the lower third, when discussing my choices, I'll include Discogs pricing with the LP's information. A little Tulip history before we get to the records. Deutsche Grammophon is one of the most prestigious classical music record labels, renowned for its roster of the world's greatest classical musicians. Finally, I now know that among collectors and audiophiles, the Tulip pressings from the 50s and 60s hold a special status due to their superior sound quality and historical significance. DG was founded in 1898 as a subsidiary of the Berliner Grammophon Company, making it one of the oldest record labels in the world. In fact, I think it is the oldest. The Tulip pressings emerged in the late 50s and continued into the late 60s. These records were produced using high-quality vinyl, advanced cutting techniques, and, most importantly, a careful mastering process using tube gear that resulted in warm, detailed, and dynamic sound reproduction. And unlike me banging on about made-in-England pressings for Decca, Lyrita, Argo, and EMI, for the DG Tulips, look for the German pressings. So, for my top 10, with these 10 Tulip gems, they all have audiophile tenets. Warm and detailed with dynamic slam, ethereal highs, and, saints be praised, wait for it, emphatic deep bass. So let's get to the fun, unscripted part. I should mention that these are in order of preference from 10 to 1. There are two very interesting box sets that I'll count as one selection each. All are stereo, most are second pressings, and all from Germany. There are a couple of first pressings, but many first pressings have stereo written on the front cover in a red cartouche. This seems to add a lot to the used market price. I'm loving the second pressings, and you'll love the price. My apologies in advance for the scarcity of recording locations. DG were pretty secretive. It's common knowledge, however, that Karajan's preferred location was the Jesus Christ Church in Dahlem, it's a Berlin suburb. Another location used was the Grunewald Church in Charlottenburg, also a suburb of Berlin. As for the Discogs pricing, it's accurate at the time of publication of this video. It's for the cheapest near mint copy and does not include shipping. So, number 10. Number 10 is the Beethoven Septet, Opus 20, in E-flat major. The number is 138887, played by the Philharmonic Octet of Berlin. And these are usually the second players of the Berlin Phil. Herbert Starr was the second principal in the orchestra on clarinet. Superb. His playing in the septet is amazing. And also Manfred Braun on bassoon. He's playing on this record the Sonata for bassoon and cello, KV 292 by Mozart. It's a wonderful record, engineered by Harold Baudas. Very natural sound, nice separation of the instruments. But again, you can say this about every single one of these Tulip recordings. They're warm, they're detailed. You're going to hear this a lot. And the instrumental timbre is very accurate. And there's a lot of the hall, whichever hall it is, of course, who knows. Now on to 138820. This is Bach's Violin Concertos number 1 and 2, and also his concerto for 2 violins. The single concertos are played by the great David Oistrakh, the great Russian violinist, and adding on the 2 violins is Igor Oistrakh, his son, who's very talented. The first 2 concertos are recorded with Oistrakh conducting the Vienna Symphonica. A little heavy in the playing, and not really, the Bach we're used to these days. But it's still a lovely performance. The concerto for 2 violins was recorded, we know the recording, in London at Brent Town Hall, basically Wembley Town Hall. DG used them a lot. And this was with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra conducted by Eugene Goossens. And so you're going to get some beautiful playing, beautiful phrasing, but it's definitely old school, as they say. Again, the sound of the violins, that's what you buy on the Tulips, and they get it right. The next is this big box of Brahms chamber music, very heavy. This one is going to cost you a little bit more money. That's because it's a 15 record set. It's pretty substantial. I would say half the performances on this are pretty well top class. The other half are very good, serviceable. But the string sextets with the Amadeus Quartet, the string quintets with the Amadeus, Carl Leister on clarinet for the clarinet quintet, which is absolutely sublime in my Audiophile Dream List, and it's just the best performance of the clarinet quintet I've ever heard is included here. Also, Pierre Fournier doing the cello sonatas, and then, of course, Christian Ferris, favorite of the DG Tulips, doing the violin sonatas. So it's a knockout box set. But again, the sound through all of these is just absolutely beautiful. God knows where they were recorded. I would buy it for the Carl Leister clarinet sonatas and the Carl Leister clarinet quintet alone. They're sublime. But also you get Fournier, you get Ferris, and you get the Amadeus Quartet. Win-win, 15 times. This next box set was recommended to me by our friend Sky on our Everything Classical Music live stream on Wednesday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Sky comes on regularly, and he loves Beethoven, he loves string quartets, but he recommended this when we were talking about building a library for a Beethoven concerto set, piano concerto set. This is the 5 concertos with Wilhelm Kempff and the Berlin Philharmonic conducted by Ferdinand Leitner. They're just superb. The piano sounds so lively and present, and you can hear the percussive attacks and Kempff's beautiful touch. And the orchestra sounds fantastic. Ferdinand Leitner is a very sympathetic accompanist. Tempos are wonderful. 1 and 2, early Beethoven, just splendid. And the one that everyone waits for, the Emperor Concerto, the equivalent of Curzon and Backhouse. And the orchestra sounds perfect in the mix. Again, I'm not sure what was recorded, but it's a lovely bloom around the piano. The piano is perfectly placed. Very highly recommended. Again, when I was listening to this, I was thinking, man, this is audiophile. It's great. And now to 138974. This is Sibelius's Symphony No. 4, along with the Swan of Tuonela, Berlin Phil, Herb von Karajan. This is a very famous record. And again, when it came onto the 3rd or 4th pressing, it was good. It was certainly one of the better Karajan. And it's just magnificent. The Berlin Philharmonic sound on this recording is gorgeous. That opening movement, which is terrifying in its orchestration and its intensity, is played for all it's worth by the orchestra. And Karajan really gets Sibelius. On the Swan of Tuonela, which is beautifully played, the Cor Anglais solo, the Swan, is Gerhard Stepanek. It's gorgeous. But again, who knows where the recording was, probably the Jesus Christ Church. But it's not spotlit in any way. It just has this massive granitic sound of the Berlin Phil in a beautiful acoustic. You can tell that acoustic works. This was a lovely surprise. The Scheherazade by Rimsky-Korsakov with the Berlin Phil, Herb von Karajan, number 139022. And it's just a beautiful recording. It really surprised me. Is it going to topple Reiner, Kondratian, and Sir Thomas Beecham? No, it's not. but it's certainly a worthy, it's in the same universe, let's say, in the same galaxy. Just beautiful sound, very powerful. The orchestra sounds blended and beautiful. It doesn't sound like there's people getting spotlit. Some of the individual solos are great. The Michel Schwalbe, the concertmaster, doing the violin solos, it's just beautiful. Probably the very best you'll hear on record. And the orchestral playing, the last movement is wonderful, the very fast, very challenging last movement. And the end of the piece works. So the crashing on the rocks is not overly dramatized. Great trombone playing. But his playing at the end, Schwalbe, when he's going very high and very quiet, is just beautiful. And the intonation is flawless. And of course, the sound is beautiful. There's air around the instruments. It's great. So yeah, it's a great Scheherazade. If it's the only one you have on Tulip, you're fine. If you want to hear the very, very, very best in sound and performance, you're going to get the EMI, early first pressing EMI with Sir Thomas Beecham and the Royal Phil, or of course the famous Rhine of the Chicago Symphony. 138961, the Sibelius Violin Concerto with Christian Ferris and Carrie Ann Kennett to the Berlin Phil. Wow, this is a very, very good recording. The recording is beautiful. The very famous clarinet part when it comes out of the mist as the violin starts the opening movement is just beautiful. And among the very best you'll hear. But I was really surprised at Christian Ferris. I kind of like, yeah, he's a fine violinist, of course. But man, when you hear him on a Tulip pressing, just glorious. Very, very beautiful. So this is highly recommended. Dramatic. When he's playing on the G string in the first movement, that little solo part, I thought it was very challenging, but my friend Peter Peerage, who's on our show a lot, told me it's not that difficult, but it sounds difficult. But you actually hear him playing on the G string. You get that kind of hysterical, intense sound on the G string that you get. And so that just shows you how good, the audiophile tenants are on this recording. So yeah, get this. So up to number 3. 139009. This is Richard Strauss' Don Quixote. With Pierre Fournier as the Don, playing his cello with the Berlin Fiddle and Carrie Ann. This is the earlier one, the great Tulip version. Boy, it's fantastic. The later ones, he did Deutsche Grammophon, and I think he did EMI with Rostropovich. They're good, but this is fantastic. Fournier is wonderful. As far as the performance is concerned, the orchestra is brilliant. Carl Leister on clarinet, the French horn section, all the monks, him attacking Don Quixote, attacking the monks, attacking the windmill, attacking sheep. It's all beautifully orchestrated by Richard Strauss. And a great interpretation. It really is. Like Carrie Ann knocks it out of the park on this recording. Now we're getting near the top. Number 2, 139020. This is Shostakovich's Symphony Number 10. Played by the Berlin Philharmonic and Herb von Karajan. This is his first recording of the Shostakovich 10. He did another one, early 80s, I think it was, in digital. It's very good. I mean, they play it brilliantly. But this recording is so gorgeous. I mean, this is, I would have a difficult time. Even the EMIs with Previn and the LSO and other ones, they don't beat this recording. This recording is gorgeous. From the very first motif, the basses and cello start very low down. It's the greatest symphony of the 20th century, I think. The second movement is the famous one representing Stalin, the very fast allegro, done at 176 for a quad note, and the Berlin Philharmonic play it at that tempo. And the second side has that allegretto with the great horn playing of Gerd Seifert, and then that fantastic ending, the race to the end in the allegro. But it's the first movement, the structure of this symphony, from that opening 6-note motif and how Shostakovich builds it. It's just incredible. It's a miraculous piece. The sound is gorgeous and very dynamic. So yeah, get this. It's one of my favorite recordings of anything, and certainly my second favorite. Could be my first favorite, but I'm going to do it as second today. And finally, we get to number 1. It is 138973. Sibelius' Symphony Number 5, his greatest symphony, I think, and along with Tapiola, with the Berlin Phil and Carrie Ann. This is another example of Carrie Ann and Sibelius. This is my number 1, even pipping the Shostakovich, I think, mainly because the playing of the Fifth Symphony is so magnificent. Listen carefully to the opening, which is incredibly difficult to play and conduct because the time is all rubato. It's robbed time and pauses, bassoons and horn. And a horn comes out of the mist in a horn call. I'm not going to sing it. You don't want to hear that. But Carrie-Ann's is the best, probably Gert Seifert. And then comes little patterns on oboes, clarinets, and then finally in the upper register, a major second, A flat to B flat in the flutes. It's so exquisitely played by the flute section that nobody comes near these guys. It's the best playing. Then, of course, when you get to the swan theme in the end, you know that gorgeous theme that Sibelius wrote when he saw swans flying over the lake near his house. It's very famous. You all know it. The horns are fantastic. And just everything. The separation of the strings to the opening of the last movement where it goes very, very fast. It's an absolute winner. Tapiola is a beautiful performance as well, but you're going to buy this for the Symphony number 5. So that's it. Mainly second pressings, but they're all wonderful. Some of them were gifts. Some I've had in my collection already. I can highly recommend all of them. Look, I have not heard all the tulips. There's hundreds of them, so I think you can pretty well glean from these. If you like the performances and the conductors, etc., go ahead and buy them. So thank you so much for watching. Please stay well, and we'll see you in the next video.